Hey everybody, today is Warhammer time. I'm always a big fan of Warhammer 40k and I love Nurgle. In this video I like to show you how I sculpted this massive 300mm big version of a plague bearer. Alright, then let's get ready and start sculpting. Everything is starting as usual with the aluminium wire armature, building up our skeleton, adding bacon bond and building up the basic volume with Super Sculpey Ultralight. After the Sculpey is baked, I add more bacon bond and start adding the first layer of clay. The material I use in this project is Super Sculpey Firm. But you will find all the materials I used down in the video description and also links where you can find them. Everything is covered with the first layer of clay, so I can start building up my first volumes of the ribcage and his butt. The next steps will be building up more volume all over the whole model. If you ask yourself why I'm using this disposable wooden knife to sculpt, because it was on my desk at the time and I like to use bigger tools in the early stage of my sculpting process. This helps to avoid jumping too quick into details, but keep in mind you don't need any fancy expensive tools to get into sculpture. The basic forms of the model are done now, and I can start adding strategically clay to his body to build up his muscles. By the way guys, I'm trying to keep the pace of my videos a bit slower now these days and also in the future, so you can see a bit more details of my sculpting process in between. I'm not jumping too far ahead in the process. Let me know what you think about it, if you like that format of video or if you would prefer shorter content. Because he's a Chaos Nurgle Demon and he got a big blown up belly with his guts hanging out, I have to add a lot of volume to create this effect. But I'm not sculpting the complete belly, because I need the room and space for his guts, so I leave a gap open there. I'm coming to the point in the stage of the model where I can start adding more details and refining his muscles. I'm adding his iconic horn. I mean, what is a Nurgle demon without horns? I'm using the backside of my brush to create room for his single demonic eye. Because he's a Nurgle demon and a lot of skin hangs down, so I decide to give him some man boobs. I sculpted the iris and the pupil into his eye, because when I'm painting the model later, I try to have more depth in his eye when it's painted and filled with UV resin. But this you're gonna see in a future video, me painting this model. I'm adding more clay to his face to establish his typically Nurgle Demon Plague Bearer look. But I don't want to spend too much time at the same place on the model, so I'm jumping all over it, from establishing his cheeks to working on his neck, and from there back to his man boobs and down to his legs. I'm sculpting his knee and the bones of it, and also the tendons of the thigh muscles, because they are visible later and not covered with skin, because he's a Nurgle demon and falling apart. Adding clay to his foot to get the basic shapes done, but later in the video you're gonna see me changing the design of his foot again. Here you see what I'm talking about. The idea was having a lot of skin hanging down his leg and his chin, and wrapping up over his foot, and also because he's a demon, I would like to give him 2 toes. I'm using the backside of my clay shaper to blend in the clay what is hanging down his calf muscles. But back to his toes and give him some crusty nails. I'm adding more skin to his leg, just to exaggerate the effect of hanging down skin what is rotting, and also adding more pustules and little pock marks and exposed muscles you can see underneath the skin. For me, this is the most fun part of a project when it comes to detailing, adding more little details, cleaning up surface areas and bringing the model to life. This is also a reason why I really enjoy sculpting this Nurgle Daemon, because he's so full of details, little textures, and there's so much going on that's just fun. We're back to the upper part of the model. I'm adding little balls of clay to create an exposed spine, what looks pretty gross. I'm using a ball stylus sculpting tool to finish up the look of my spine. You can see me adding more textures and details to the model to make it look more interesting. I'm using a loop rake tool to clean the surface and blend the transitions of the individual muscles together. I'm using kitchen fold to create skin folds on the model, what helps with a sculpting tool so it's not cutting that deep into the clay, and I have a lot of soft edges. I'm sculpting his chaos icon now into his chest. I continue adding more and more details to the model. It's not ending. Like you see here, having this exposed skull, ripped off skin, adding veins to the model, because he's a possessed demon. He does need some extra details like those massive veins and coming out of the pustules. Keep cleaning the model, and cleaning the surface is also important. I'm using a brush with isopropanol alcohol to blend the veins and the little things together. Also getting rid of tool marks and fingerprints I have left on the model, and I don't want to have them visible. Here's a cool little trick I'd like to show you. I'm using a syringe with a super glue applicator nozzle and diluted super sculpty medium. I mixed lighter gas and the super sculpty medium to dissolve and fill it into the syringe, and by this you can use it to get all those little cool pustules and marks, and also you can use it to draw in veins on the model, which is pretty cool. I thought you might like this little trick. It's time to fill those empty gums with some teeth. I have baked the model the first time, so I'm not destroying any details in the further process. And let's continue with the horn. I'm using Sculpting Bake and Bond again, so the clay will stick very good and not falling off the model after baking. The clay I'm using here is coarse clay medium. To sculpt his guts I'm using also coarse clay medium, because it stays flexible after baking and will not break that easy. As you can see, they hang out quite a lot, so if you touch them they might break if you use Sculpting. This is the reason why I'm using coarse clay. I'm using a thin sheet of coarse clay to create a very thin layer of skin what is hanging over the guts. Adding more detail by having some tentacles coming out of his belly, and also more little skin what is hanging around, and pustules and little bubbles and little textures. I'm using isopropanol alcohol and a soft brush again to blend everything together and have a nice surface finish. There's still too much empty space in the sculpt, so I have to add a massive tongue. We leave the model for now. We have to make his pokey bit, his massive sword. I'm using 2mm aluminium wire, wrapped together, bake and bond, and Sculpting medium and shape the sword. The sword is baked now, and I can use my scalpel blade to sharpen the edges. But be careful, don't cut yourself. You know, safety first. Everything is cut. I'm using bake and bond again, adding more coarse clay, and giving the sword its typical texture. Having done the pokey bit, it's time to make his hand. At least one hand. I used aluminium wire to make an armature for his hand and milliput to support the wire. I'm using the scalpel blade to cut into the baked clay to have access to the armature wire, so I have a mounting point for my hand. To sculpt his hand I'm using coarse clay, adding little sausages of clay to form his little creepy fingers. I have baked the hand, so I'm not destroying any details or break off the fingers, and I can work on the palm of the hand. His hand is almost finished, there's not much to do, adding fingernails, little folds and wrinkles on the palm of the hand and also texturing the top of the hand with diluted clay. Now it's time to bake. While his hand is in the oven to bake, we need something to hold his pokey bit, so I decide to give him not a complete hand but some fingers and some tentacles holding his massive sword. His left hand is baked and cooled down, and I can apply it to his arm and cover the joint with a leather band. I have baked the model one more time and he's back to normal temperature. Everything left to do is making his base. I'm using the wood I sculpted the figure on because that's what I have, and I've had also a lot of epoxy putty left what was getting too old and need to be used, and I thought, well, I use it before I waste it and I have a nice base. That's it, the base is done, let's put the model on his base. I hope you enjoyed this video. Now it's time for the grand reveal. Enjoy the final shots. See you next time. Thanks for watching.